Hey guys, this is Connor at Conquest HP, and this is my beer hangover calorie balance analogy that I use with clients sometimes because lots of people understand beer and hangovers, and there are lots of misunderstandings about how carbs and fats can lead to fat storage. But the basic idea is this, that calorie balance, the number of calories you consume versus the number that you burn, that's what determines if you gain weight or lose weight. That's true for everyone, every person on the planet. And that's beyond dispute at this point, frankly. But lots of things affect calorie balance both ways. Obviously, the foods you eat all supply calories to your body. That's where your calories come from. Different foods supply different amount of calories. And you burn calories for all kinds of reasons, just to stay alive, the amount that you move and fidget, based on hormonal health, all kinds of different things, age, what you do in the gym, everything. So it's not that easy to see what your actual calorie balance is unless you're gaining or losing weight. Carbs represent calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate, 4 calories. Fats represent calories. 1 gram of fat, 9 calories. These things are fuels. We can use them as fuel in slightly different ways, but it's kind of a moot point, really. They both bring calories to the table. Both of them can lead to weight gain or weight loss if they're manipulated appropriately. And there aren't any mystical, magical qualities to either of them. You know, if you get a special fat like coconut oil because it's a special fat, it doesn't circumvent the laws of nature. Okay, it doesn't go around calorie balance. Those are still calories from fat. It's still a fat. You still have to count it. There's no magic about it. So the way I give this analogy to clients is that if you are drinking one night, let's say that your hangover threshold is 10 beers. You can have 10 beers and you'll be fine the next day, no hangover. You go to 11 beers, you're going to have a hangover. Some people would prefer to have all 9 or 10 of those beers on a really rowdy night from one brand, just one kind of beer. You know, everyone knows that person or is that person. They just have a preference for one beer. If you go to 11 beers, you're going to have a hangover, even if they're 11 of the same exact brand of beer. Other people will come to a party with a mixed bag with 10 or 11 different cans in it because they want to try different beers. The beer is coming from different sources. It's a different brand. It's a different taste, whatever. If you don't cross that 10 beer threshold, you still won't have a hangover the next day because there's nothing magical about that beer. It's got to cross that threshold. If you're going to have the hangover, you have to have the alcohol content if you're going to have the hangover. You go to 11 beers, trying all those different beers, you're going to have the hangover. And that's exactly what happens with carbs and fats. Okay, they're like different brands of beer. If you cross that threshold with carbs and fats, if you exceed your calorie balance or the calorie allotment that you have for the day based on what you burn, then you're going to gain weight. That's true whether those calories come entirely from fats, entirely from carbs, entirely from protein, or a mix of the three, and alcohol probably, right? But it's true regardless of where those calories are coming from. So the balance is up to you. If you prefer carbohydrate dense foods, maybe you'll want to eat more carbs than fats relative to the next person down the line. And that's entirely up to you. If you manipulate the calorie balance, is still adhering to your preferences. So if you stick to the calorie balance and you eat your high carbs within that calorie balance, you are fine. You can achieve any goal that you want. You can lose weight, you can gain weight, muscle, performance, whatever you want to do. But you have to adhere to the calorie balance. And it doesn't really matter where those calories are coming from because carbs and fats and proteins don't have magical qualities to them. There are advantages and disadvantages to consuming each. And a lot of the advantage and disadvantage is going to come down to preference, how much you enjoy consuming those foods. But none of them can circumvent the fact that they're made of energy and they supply energy to our system. So keep that in mind. It's like your hangover threshold. You exceed that calorie balance, weight gain. Doesn't matter how many different brands of beer or where those calories are coming from. If you adhere to the balance that you're supposed to adhere to, you can make it up however you prefer, to a certain extent. It is healthy to have some fats. It is healthy to have some carbs. So I wouldn't recommend completely cutting out either of those things unless you have a medical reason to do so, an actual medical reason. But within your calorie balance, you can split that up however you feel best. It's entirely up to you. And having a higher amount of carbs or a higher amount of fats isn't necessarily going to be better or worse for fat loss or muscle gain. It's all going to depend on how you work that balance first and foremost. So if you ignore the balance, ignore that hangover effect, you're going to end up with a hangover or weight gain, depending on which side of the analogy we are right now. Anyways, it doesn't matter what constituents are making up that balance. That's my beer analogy, my hangover analogy, because people understand hangovers and people generally understand weight gain. And usually people don't want either of those things. So use this for your own purposes. Avoid that hangover threshold. Adhere to your calorie balance. Understand that there's nothing inherently evil or inherently magical or miraculous about any carb or fat or anything. Okay, they are what they are. Ultimately, your success comes down to how you use them. All right, so hit like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.